Hell yeah, brothers. Welcome to the Two Step Podcast. I'm Bag, and this is Mag.
So,
coming to you live through Twitch TV. Let's talk some trash. So, a little bit of a different layout I got going here for anybody watching my portion of the stream. Deal with it, nerds. So we got a lot of good topics today, and you guys are actually going to be able to see the topics on the stream. Wow, amazing, magical.
are they?
I can even mark them whenever they're. Oh, I shouldn't have clicked that many. I can even mark them whenever they're done. All right. Anyways.
Man, what do you got on your fancy ass stream here?
So today's topics are Blizzard choosing Chinese money over freedom. We've got the official announcement of the PS5. We have a bunch of game companies just doing some questionable stuff this week. Like, straight up, there's just so many different things that it's its own segment right now. And then we've got the inevitably Game of the Year 10 out of 10 IGN Untitled Goose Game is making waves in a gaming culture. So, the first thing we're going to start out with is probably the biggest one, and this is a huge controversy, is Blizzard choosing Chinese money over freedom. So, anyone who isn't aware of what's going on, there is the Hearthstone Grandmasters tournament, right? This is basically like the highest level of Hearthstone tournament that you can get to. And this guy named Blitzchung he won his region. It was like Asia Pacific or something like that, right?
Taiwan, I believe.
Yeah.
Specifically, I don't know, but yes, it was the Asia Pacific region.
Yeah, he won his region, and during the little like bit that he gets to talk for that, it's like he gets like a minute or something like that. He decides to voice his protest against the Hong Kong situation going on. We're not really going to get into the Hong Kong situation because that's huge, but go look at it if you don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, so he lives in Hong Kong, and he just kind of, is voicing his solidarity for Hong Kong. And to repay him for those efforts, Blizzard decides to ban him from Hearthstone competitive for a year. That honestly, out of everything, that is warranted, right? I feel that is okay. Yeah. The ban is warranted because he did go against the rules. I don't agree.
I think that's bullshit, personally. Banning somebody for a fucking year is one of those things that you do because you still want them to come back the following year so that you can get fucking money off their success while not being, like, basically it's really non-committal. Oh, we're gonna ban you for a year. Please come back next year, by the way. And it's like, fuck you. Why the fuck should he? You banned him. You banned him because you've got... Oh, man, I could go into insane detail.
Yeah, so...
I really shouldn't.
So the reason that I think that it's okay is that I don't feel that the politics
basically,
really should be taking
political, yeah.
Yes, but the politics shouldn't be taking the main stage on something that is is meant to be entertainment. And I think that Blizzard...
This isn't the only problem.
Yeah, there's many more problems with it. But Blizzard... Go ahead.
Well, it's not just that they banned him, as the story goes, right? They didn't just ban him and say, you brought this political bullshit to our fucking gaming event, right? That would have been fine. That's not what they did, though. They banned him, right? Remove all of his winnings, so he's not allowed any of that stuff. And then, right, they banned the fucking casters who let him talk.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like that...
And then scour all mention of it. Then they try to scour all mention off of it.
That last part where they banned the casters, that's the part where it became like, okay, what are you actually doing right now? That's the part where they set the dumpster on fire. It's like, okay, I can see in some kind of world that I don't really agree with that he gets banned for a year. That's fine. Oh, they're gonna take all of his prize money. That's getting a little bit much. I don't agree with that.
Yep.
But then they're like, okay, we're gonna just ban the casters and fire them just because they didn't like yell and scream and stop him from doing whatever he was doing. It's like,
specifically,
the casters didn't even know what was gonna happen. I mean,
no,
come on.
Okay, you've said that, but no, if you actually watch the Twitch stream and you get it translated, they 100% knew what was going to happen. They knew what was going to happen.
Oh, okay.
They knew the 8 words that he was going to say. I'm not going to repeat them here, right? But you could find them. It's the 8. It's like the fucking 7, 8 words. It's the slogan, right? That all fucking people in solidarity of Hong Kong are saying. They knew he was going to say it. They said you can have your 8 words, and then they said to the other caster, duck out of the shot. Right? So they said basically they knew what he was going to say, and then they removed themselves from the situation by getting out of the shot so that they weren't culpable. Of course, Blizzard figured, well, you're the guys who let him say it, so we're going to ban you anyways. And I mean, I get that. I understand that. But here's the thing. If Blizzard had just done what they were asked to do, which was remove the VOD and then just ignore it. Basically, if Blizzard said literally nothing, Blizzard had to do nothing here. They just had to remove the VOD off Twitch, and then that's it. That's all they had to do. That nothing would have come of it because nobody would have been none the wiser. People would have thought, oh, that's a bit weird. There might have been a few outcries about them removing the VOD and stuff like that, but they could have just ignored it. You know, right? They could have completely ignored it and it would have gone away. Now,
no, they had to set the dumpster on fire, dude.
Yeah, now it'll still go away, but it's going to go away after they've put they drowned the baby in the bathwater for no reason, right? They just decided to go, fuck it, I don't like having kids, time to kill them. It's like, why? Just say nothing! Ignorance is bliss!
Yeah, and it has been blowing up on social media. I mean, this is honestly one
as it should! Fuck them!
Yeah, this is like one of the biggest things that that has
This
come
is worse
through.
than Diablo fucking Immortal. You know, like, I was already pretty upset about Diablo Immortal, that announcement, right? But I wasn't gonna write Blizzard off entirely from that, right? I have been upset with things like BFA and whatever, but the reality is I also know, I understand and generally accept that every second expansion that Blizzard does sucks. I'm trying to find something terribly on this game that I cannot find.
Yeah, go ahead.
Continue? No, continue.
Okay. So the whole issue here is that Blizzard is setting a horrible situation for themselves because the main reason is that the whole issue with the NBA recently that they started this whole issue, the whole talk, and this is in popular culture right now, right? So people are talking about the NBA basically just taking Chinese money, right? Like it's just it's huge right now, and then they just decide.
South Park made a joke about it, got banned.
Yeah.
South Park recently made the episode called literally Banned in China, mocking the shit out of China, knowing that that's what was going to happen. But it all had the whole NBA references and all that shit. It's a hot topic right now in the world of politics.
And Blizzard chose the absolute worst time to get their foot into the water here. And I mean, this is everywhere. It's on every single subreddit that could even remotely relate to it. Like I saw it on Technology. It was on World News.
Yeah, I know. It's on everything.
It was literally everywhere. Twitter is blowing up about it. You can find it in trending. I mean, like Blizzard is trending, and notably
which is not in a good way.
Yeah, notably the Blizzard subreddit, like just the /r/Blizzard, closed when this news broke. I think that they run that one. Yeah, it's closed. I think that they
Blizzard, I think
they do run that one. I don't think they run the mini ones, but yeah.
No, but they have influence over those ones.
Of course they do.
But in saying this, the mods aren't doing a hell of a lot on Hearthstone, for instance. They're not getting rid of the passionate like memes, primarily because they know exactly what will happen if they do that, right? They'll become the targets. You don't do that. You hide away. You just hide and make sure nobody can see you when they're firing their weapons.
And that's the other thing is that like a lot of these subreddits are getting huge popularity from this right now. This is like a huge boost. Controversy like is good for these people because they can just write it off as that, well, we don't want to do the same thing that Blizzard did. That would be dumb. And yes, that's true. Yeah. But they're also making a ton of fucking profit off of this if you're thinking that, you know, whatever you want to call it, if popularity is money, which on Reddit kind of is. I mean,
yeah, well, as I've mentioned this before on the podcast, how astroturfing is a massive thing on Reddit, and any other social network. The astroturfing being the idea that it's basically just shilling. You'll have corporations hire people to go on these social networks and pose as if they're a fan or something in support of these companies. It's pretty basic.
It's very common.
Fuck, I'm doing in this game. Legit,
it's very
holy
common
crap.
in a lot of corporations. It's very common in politics.
Yeah.
Just as a side note as well, I want to talk about this.
Here it is.
The for the politics shilling type thing, recently the Republicans, like this happened today, the Republicans admitted that they knew that the Kremlin interfered in the 2016 election. They straight up admitted it today, that they've known since before the Mueller report, and they just decided not to release that information.
Yeah.
That they basically paid shills to manipulate social media and meddle in our election, but no collusion, by the way. But anyways, I'm getting beyond that. We're kind of
we did that last week. Let's not do it this week.
We're deviating. Let's stay the course. But yeah, it was a terrible idea for Blizzard to do that, and honestly, I don't think that it's really going to have as much of an effect as people are hoping that it will. I mean, I've heard stories that people are going to like go to BlizzCon and wave Hong Kong flags and stuff like that, but I don't think any of that will actually happen. You know, like maybe there'll be a little bit of it, but I don't think it's going to actually go anywhere. You know, it's sad, but I feel that nowadays the protests and stuff, all besides Hong Kong, the Hong Kong protests, I mean, they're basically fighting for their lives at this point, so it's continuing. You know, they're not content. Yeah. They're not able to continue living. But a lot of this kind of stuff just falls away. I mean, look at fucking EA. They're doing fine. They pulled some of the most horrible anti-consumer shit that any game company has in a long time, and they're fine. They have no issues right now whatsoever.
It's weird. So yeah, continue. I'm playing this Minecraft mod pack, and it's bloody weird.
Yeah, I've got no idea what he's playing, so tune into his stream to see whatever the hell is going on over there. But
I'm napping. I'm chipping rocks to make tools in Minecraft. Yeah,
so long story short, Blizzard is in super hot water because they are suckling on some China teat, basically.
I mean, it makes sense.
Moving on.
A lot of money in China.
Yeah, I mean, money talks. It's how it's gonna go. I'm not surprised that it's happening. I'm surprised that they let the dumpster fire be this bad. That's all that I'm surprised about. But
that's fucked up.
Moving on to the next topic here, is the PS5 is officially announced.
Yeah.
We have confirmed from Sony themselves that the PS5 is going to be launching in holiday of 2020. It's been
Do you have any specific performance stats?
Yeah, I've got a couple here. But before we get into the performance stats, it is interesting to me that it's taken this long.
What, for the PS5? Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much. Wonder what they were waiting.
A console
for.
in general, like the thing that here. Let me look real quick. I'm not gonna pull this up on stream.
Maybe they're doing the same thing that I'm doing. Maybe they were doing the same thing that I was doing and waiting for a better graphics card that isn't too fucking expensive.
Okay, so the PS3 release date was 2006. The PS4 release date was 2013. So if we're going by that, it's about 7 years. So that's about
so it's about the
average
same
then for them. Okay,
yeah, so it's fine.
I wouldn't say it's fine, but it's about the average.
I mean, I think it's fine.
That's a long time for that, because think that people are still getting games right now with the hardware that was available 7 years ago. That's what they're playing on.
Yeah, yes, I understand that, but the issue being is that in terms of like graphics especially, there haven't been that many massive advancements that they then are able to miniaturize into. Like, wasn't the whole rumor that the PS5 is supposed to have a fucking 2080, an RTX 2080?
It's supposedly supposed to be very strong. I'll get into the specifics of the like specs that we know, like that are official, because it's been rumored that it has a card as strong as a 2080, not a 2080 Ti, just a 2080.
But the thing is that I imagine that even if they did have that I don't know if that would have been that wouldn't have been possible when it came out, and it didn't exactly come out that long ago. right? So
Yeah,
that's what
so-
I said. When I said that they're probably doing what I'm doing and waiting for the cards to drop, I'm not joking. They probably actually legitimately were, because there hasn't been a hell of a lot in terms
for
of
sure.
graphic card
Oh,
development
okay.
in the last 5 years or so.
The ground just fell out from underneath me. But basically what it was is that as much as Nvidia and Intel are have all of the fucking brain what's the word I'm looking for? The influence in the computer portion.
They have the you mean they have
something
the,
space.
The mind, it's like mind share, right?
Mind share, there we go. That's what I was looking for.
They have the mind share where everybody thinks that they're good, so everybody buys into them.
When it comes to computers, Intel and Nvidia have almost all of the mind share when it comes to hardware. However, when it comes to consoles, AMD completely owns consoles. They are
and Android and phones
and Android, yes, and Android.
Yeah.
They completely own it. The only places that have like competitors to phones and such are like China and Apple are basically the only two. But AMD has that entire market, and when I say the entire market, I mean pretty much 100%. So don't think that they are like just, second rate or anything. They are huge when it comes to consoles. And when it comes to
a big
phones.
thing is because anyone who's sleeping on AMD nowadays in favor of Intel is on the wrong side, because
Yes, I would agree.
Intel haven't been making nearly as many waves in the last few years as AMD have with the Ryzen chips, right? Ryzen is just generally better than... Like, Intel have better, really, really, really good flagships, but the price that you'll pay for those is like more than 2 to 3 times as much as the AMD equivalent, and you're only looking at about 15% difference. So why would you pay $2,000 for a 15% upgrade when you could pay $1,000, right? For basically the same thing. Oh wow!
And I mean,
dark.
Even at this point, I would say that price performance AMD absolutely wins, but I even feel in the high end AMD is starting to pull through and be the contender here. I mean, they're within like 5% in benchmarks right now.
Yeah.
To Intel's flagships when it comes to CPUs. GPUs is another whole beast. I would not fully recommend AMD GPUs as of right now. I can say that they are good, they are fine, there's nothing wrong with them whatsoever, and Mag can attest to that.
As somebody who uses AMD, I'm sorry, I need to start again because this is terrible. As somebody who does use AMD, they're fine, but the reality here is that if you're looking for a mid-range card, right, AMD are generally your best bet for price to performance ratio. They're cheaper for how much performance you get out of them. But if you're looking at for instance, I'm in this boat, if you're looking for an upgrade at all to the current mid-range options and you want a higher end option, then you can only really go to Nvidia. Because like the Vega series is fine, but there's no reason to buy it over fucking the RTX, any of them. They're just significantly better value.
The features of the high-end cards when it comes to Nvidia are just so much more than what AMD is providing right now. It's hard to... That dolphin just jumped straight onto land. Hey buddy, you doing okay?
Man, I'm doing some weird shit in my game. I'm in the Stone Age. I gotta make a fire pit. And doing that in the dark is impossible, so I stopped.
I'm just watching a dolphin hop around on land right now.
I don't have dolphins in my game. It's an old version.
Okay, anyways, that completely off topic, but I was completely thrown off by this dolphin that just decided that it was going to be a land mammal now.
If you're listening to this, you could find that on the fucking on the video.
Yeah,
later.
you can find it on the YouTube video if you wanna see this dolphin. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Basically what it comes down to is that if you are in the computer part market right now and you're looking for something that's mid to high end, I would recommend absolutely an AMD CPU and a Nvidia GPU. Those are my two personal recommendations. And like Mag said before, if you're in the lower or mid end, AMD is probably better on both ends for you. Definitely in the lower end, their CPUs are phenomenally better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
that's why that's why things like Android and consoles use them, because their price, their value is so much better. Intel get away with charging higher because people think that people have this misconception. It's always been a thing where people believe that because it costs more, it must be a better value, but that's not.
No,
that's
not even
extremely debatable in many situations.
Yeah, and value, I would say, is very, very far from. Intel has gotten that headspace for some reason forever now, but
because
it is not the truth anymore.
I'm not going to. Yeah.
But speaking of the PS5's stats, right? So it's going to be AMD CPU and AMD GPU, which is good that they are going to be able to work together. It makes sense that you would use both of the same company, and it's probably going to enable ray tracing. So one big thing about ray tracing is that right now ray tracing is in its infancy, right? But once consoles get in the market of ray tracing, you will see a lot more of it. I guarantee you, as soon as it starts becoming the norm for consoles, it will become the norm for everything else, because so many companies focus on their console releases over their PC releases. And the actual specs of the PS4, you can see them on the list towards the right of the screen. It's got an 8-core processor, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It has an SSD. One thing to note about the SSD that I don't have written down because it was too much is that this is a made-to-perform SSD that is specifically designed for gaming. And the reason that this is important is that compared to standard SSD speeds that you would get on a computer right now, this is vastly faster, anywhere from like 200 to 300%. Just because it is made to perform one specific action, and that is to load video games. Doesn't have to do anything else. So that is huge, actually, for it. You're going to get 3D audio, so if you're using headphones, you're going to be getting better quality audio as well as better positional audio. It's going to be backwards compatible with PS4. That's to be expected. That's not on. It's honestly something that I wouldn't even really put as a plus. It's just to be expected. Interestingly, they're going to be supporting 8K. Like, how do you feel about that, Mag? I feel like 4K isn't even really, like, fully adopted yet.
Yeah, see, I think it's hype bullshit. I think, supporting fucking 8K is complete... Like, what's the point, right? Most people don't have 4K monitors, let alone 8K monitors. An 8K monitor is super fucking expensive. Nobody can afford that shit. So when you have PS5 saying, haha, we've got 8K support, it's clear fucking marketing tossery, right? No one's going to be able to use it. It's the same concept when they said that the fucking PS4 would have 60 FPS games. But then no game actually, like the amount of games that actually support 60 frames per second is so fucking few. Like they have 1080p support, but so many games still would dumb down to like 900p. Just if they wanted the 60 FPS, they'd be 900p. Right? If they wanted 1080p, they'd be 30 FPS. So it's like, yeah, you can market as having 8K, but if nobody can play 8K at any fucking reasonable frame rate, then who gives a shit? It's just bullshit.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind as well is that I'm on a decently high-end computer, right? Like it's not the best of the best, but I'd say it's probably like 80% of the way there. And when it comes to my monitor size, I run a 1440p monitor, or 2K as they're calling it now. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense that they're calling it that, but you know, whatever, it doesn't matter.
2K. Yeah, because it's technically it's interesting because it's technically
60 or something. Yeah.
It's 2K. Well, the problem here is that
2.5K.
It's 2K. It's but even ignoring that, it's 2K, right? But horizontally. 1080p and 720p are the descriptions that we use for vertical fucking height. So why are we now using the fucking horizontal width, right, for the fucking denominator of 2K when previously we used the height? It makes no sense. 4K,
that's
same
marketing,
problem. 8K,
bro.
same problem.
Come on.
Yeah, because it's a bigger fucking number. That's why. I mean, what do you? Well, I say that, but then 720p is a smaller number. No, I guess it's still technically a bigger number than 6 fucking whatever it was. I don't remember. It's been a while. 768 actually was the fucking thing, wasn't it?
Yep.
1024 by 768.
Yeah, it was it was 768 by 12 something. I don't remember, but anyways, that was back in the olden days of 4x3.
That's what it is.
See, I mean, 8K is just is just straight 100% marketing, but I feel that this is a good thing for gaming in general, that these specs are like, I don't feel bad telling someone, hey, you can buy a PS5, you'll probably get some pretty good graphics out of it now. I feel that it's not like I feel like I'm lying to someone if I tell them that a console is going to look okay, because like some of my family has PlayStation 4s. I've seen the graphics, and I'm honestly not really impressed. After running a 1440p monitor, I can run most things at Ultra, and I can get like 70 to 80 FPS, right? I've seen that with my own eyes. There's no comparison. A TV, and I've actually had them plugged into a nice monitor before, because a lot of people, they just plug their PS4 into like a random television that sucks, you know. I mean, you're not going to get good quality there, but if you plug it into an actual half decent monitor, you're going to get some good quality, but it's just not there, man. Like, it really isn't. But with PS5, I would feel okay. I would feel okay saying, yeah, you're gonna actually see what the game is meant to look like.
I mean, you say that, but at the same time, when the PlayStation 4 came out, I recall its hardware being pretty fucking good for the time. So it's like the problem with consoles is it's going to be the same problem, right? If a console's lifespan is expected to be 6 years, 6 or 7 years, right? Then by the time you hit the 5-year mark, that's when most of the console's hardware is going to be completely depreciated compared to what a PC could have. So on launch, the hardware is going to be good, but 5 years later, the PlayStation 5 is going to have the same problems that the PS4 has now. I mean, that's why they're upgrading, right? That's the whole point. And that's why I kind of agree when you say that it's not right that they waited so long. They should have really done it 2 years ago. But again, I believe that they didn't do it 2 years ago, because 2 years ago there was nothing available that was nearly as equivalent. You had, I mean, the problem is you had the 1080s being taken up by miners. So it was not a good, so the thing is that it wasn't a particularly good period. So if Sony were thinking about making the PS5 2 years ago, they probably thought, maybe not, we'll wait a bit. That's what I'm saying. So I think
we have an old version of the podcast, our previous incarnation, where we talked a lot about that. You can find it in there somewhere, but about the whole mining problem, because that was active when we were talking about that last time. But yeah, so I feel one thing that I have to, the only real comment I have about that, of what you said, Mag, is that I think we are, what's the law? Moore's law, I think is what it is. I think we've already reached that.
We've already hit diminishing returns on that.
We're hitting pretty heavy diminishing returns now, and the amount that graphics are improving nowadays has less to do with the actual graphical fidelity and more to do with the realistic extras, I would say. Like ray tracing is a big one. I feel that with the addition of ray tracing, because I've seen ray tracing as well, it feels pretty natural, but it's not 100% there. Like, in 2 or 3 more years, when ray tracing is more established, you will notice a massive difference between ray tracing and non-ray tracing. But
I just made a fire. I rubbed 3 sticks together and made fire. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
So our next segment is just going to be a whole bunch of stuff. To be honest with you, it's just going to be game companies doing game company things. So there's a bunch of things to unpack here. I'm just gonna go down the list in order for what I have. The first one being that EA is selling games on the Humble Bundle now. Like, this is something that I just read about today, like a few hours ago.
Oh, wait, are they actually sell? Oh,
yes.
I thought they would, yeah.
No, there's a. I linked to it. There's a whole section of just EA games on Humble Bundle now.
I wonder what the cut is, because they originally moved away from Steam because they weren't happy with Steam's 30% cut. They figured we could make Origin and do it better and get 100% of the cut. Fine, that makes sense, right? So what's Humble offering them?
I don't
considering
know.
That if they were, well, think about it. If they were happy with Humble Bundle doing something, why wouldn't they just take an Epic exclusive? There's no way that they wouldn't be given an Epic exclusive if fucking they asked, right? Come on.
So, what I honestly think this is, Mag, I think this is straight a a marketing stunt for their view, because they've been getting a lot of negative press right now. I think that them moving towards a store that is seen as being a good and friendly and like pro-consumer type thing, I think that's 100% a ploy to just get some more like good clout going on here. I feel that that's 100% what it is. Because when I think of Steam, when I think of Epic, when I think of all these things, I just think big corporation conglomerate that just sells games, right? I don't think anything else. When all of my memories of Humble Bundle is like they've been partnered with the GDQ charities, they do lots of donations, their games
Humble
are very
Bundle
cheap.
Have become very corporate later.
Yeah, and I mean you can tell they're partnering with EA, you can 100% tell that they are. Yeah. So
but
it's like
not just recently. They've been doing it for the last like year or two now, to be honest.
But my initial worldview of Humble Bundle is still very positive, right? It's very like consumer friendly, and it's hard to change that, even though like, you know, I see now when I'm looking into it that they have very much so changed. The average person who doesn't look that deep into kind of things is going to just they're just going to be like, oh, cool, EA is helping out with charities and stuff, which they're not. The games are fully priced. You can take a look in there. They're all fully priced. So it's like, this just feels so shallow to me. It feels so superficial to me, but the shit works and it pisses me off.
Yeah, it is. It is completely superficial as well. Where the fuck are my logs?
And the next thing that both Mag and I are super upset about actually is that Doom Eternal is getting pushed back. I'm super not happy about this because I was 100% planning to stream it. Mag was as well, I'm sure. And I
loved Doom 2016. Doom 2016 was my game of the year for 2016, alright? It was fucking amazing. And Doom Eternal just looks like Doom 2016 but with a fucking grappling hook, okay?
Yep. And
I really wanted to...
I like Doom 2016 quite a bit as well, and I've loved the Doom franchise basically since it came out. They had some stinkers. I wasn't a big fan of Doom 3. It had its
I think that I respect them for trying something different. I think it failed. But I do think I can see the idea of making Doom into a survival horror game. Absolutely.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But just didn't really work.
Doom at its best is just gore, fantasy, kill, and be as strong as you can possibly fucking be. You are a god, and you are sent to clean the infidels.
Doom Fantasy is going around murdering everything from hell while listening to a ball of metal track, alright? Yep. That's Doom. That's quintessential fucking Doom to me.
It's just a straight power fantasy is what Doom does best. It's as Vinny from Vinesauce calls it, it's a big dumb shooter. And I love it for that.
And I love it, yeah.
So I'm super upset that it's getting pushed back. They said that, but at the same time, I am happy that they're pushing it back instead of releasing an unfinished product. They said that they need more time to be able to deliver the experience that they want to do, and I can 100% respect that. Doesn't mean I'm not upset about it. I'm very upset about it.
I'm wondering if some of this... Yeah, I'm fucking heartbroken. I'm wondering if some of this is related to the invasion mode they're adding, where you can invade people's games as a fucking demon.
Probably. Honestly, that mode is very...
Which I don't care about.
Yeah, I'm not going to be worried about it at all.
It reminds me... Well, that mode, the invasion mode, reminds me of Watch Dogs when they did it. And I don't know if I want to have it happen to me during my fucking single player campaign. It depends on how overpowered the other person is, you know?
That would be pretty funny, actually. You should be able to invade your friends, because if you can invade your friends, you better fucking be ready,
God.
Fuck, you're gonna be streaming, and I'm just gonna fucking
be ready?
Hey, dude, come on.
I should be ready. You're fucked, 100%, dude.
I stream earlier than you, dude. You're gonna be waking up. You're just gonna be like doing whatever. Come on, you know. I'm gonna be ready in my gamer moment.
I wake up an hour before you stream. You're fucked, alright? I'm gonna have a fucking 3-hour fucking head start before you even get to my stream.
Mag's just gonna be in my fucking game the entire stream. He's just gonna be fucking ruining me the entire time.
I'm gonna be a fucking Hell Knight, alright? I'm just fucking charging you. If it works like that, if it works like Dark Souls Invasions, you're fucking screwed.
The one other thing to note is that the Switch version is getting delayed even further than March 2020. So, but nobody really cares about Doom on the Switch. If you do care about Doom on the Switch,
I like the idea.
I don't know what to tell
Nah,
you.
man. Fuck you. Look, I respect. If you care about fucking Switch games like Doom and Wolfenstein and Skyrim, I respect you. Fuck bag. I mean,
Yeah,
I like
fuck
the
them.
idea of being. They run, honestly, they run very fucking well. They run extremely well for what they are. Yeah, they look a bit crap. That's to be expected. But I mean, portable fucking Doom is pretty neat.
Yeah,
It's got its fucking uses.
The only thing that I could say about specifically the Switch, oh god, is the aiming, where you can like aim with moving the console.
Yeah, sure.
That's honestly pretty fucking cool. That's one of the better things that I think the Switch has ever done.
For the record, I don't think Doom is as good on the Switch as Skyrim is, because
Probably
Doom's
not.
too hectic. But I think Doom on console in general is terrible because, again, it's an arena shooter inspired game. It's very, very hectic. The last arena-based shooter to do well on consoles was freaking Halo. Speaking of Halo, I can't wait for
Halo's
that to
good.
come out. I'm actually looking forward to that. I've never played the Halo series.
I did. I played all the way up through 3 before I stopped buying consoles at that point, I think was the problem.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's another thing interesting that we don't have in the topics, but it is something that we should talk about, is that Microsoft is going the polar opposite of what Sony is. And
For the most
as much
part,
as
yeah.
it sucks for Microsoft, because they are losing out a lot in the console market, they are hybridizing, which is very good for anyone playing PC, because they're making it so that you can do native crossplay, which Sony's doing crossplay as well now. Finally, it took them just years. They're finally realizing that if they don't do crossplay, they're going to lose out.
I was going to mention that, but this song really, really fucking bothered me because it's literally Disturbed. It's a pixel fucking it's like chiptune version of Disturbed's Land of Confusion. That's fine.
But
Just really put me off. Yeah, no, I was going to mention that. Yes, Sony are finally doing the whole that's supporting. Well, they've got a beta out, and developers can tie into that. I would really, 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 really love to see Destiny and Borderlands on crossplay, because I have friends who have consoles who would probably play both those games.
it would be nice.
But they have consoles?
But it's gonna be rough going for quite a while. Like, expect it to take some time before any of it really becomes a thing. But one of the better things about that in particular is that there's a lot of games that are, you can buy like the Xbox Pass and you get them on both Xbox and PC. And I feel that PC has been missing a lot of that, like, get a pass and play a couple older games for a certain time period. Like, I feel like that's something that has been missing from PC. It's just a graphical error. Yeah, I was seeing through the world. But I think that's something that's been missing from PC gaming for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's something that is nice. It's actually something that the Epic Game Store does relatively well compared to a lot of other places, is that they promo games and they give them to you for free, which is cool. I mean,
they have to do that though, to be fair.
Of course.
That's their entire, that's
Like
the whole, we need you to come to our store because nobody's buying shit, so here's a free slip. Basically, it's a way to attract it, in the same way that Steam attracted growth by discounting the shit. In fact, Epic are doing the exact same thing that Steam does, they're just discounting it by 100%.
Yeah, and that leads into the next topic here, is that, I mean, I'm pretty sure that everyone kind of knew this, but it's just been confirmed at this point that so Steam always took a 30% cut, and that looks like the world is just not loaded whatsoever. Hello. So Steam always took a 30% cut from the companies that sold the games, right? They just took a 30% cut. And people were like giving Steam, shit for taking a 30% cut.
Shit for this.
And that was like their ammo for Epic, is that Epic was taking less of a cut and throwing money at these companies to have their games exclusive. But turns out 30% is industry standard.
You know what the real joke about that whole thing? And give me a sec, 'cause I'm just changing games here, don't worry. The real joke about that whole fucking thing is that Tim Sweeney went on record on Twitter to say that Steam could fucking get away with an 8% cut. And I'm thinking, one, how the fuck do you even reckon that? And two, why aren't you doing an 8% cut then? Why are you doing 12%, you greedy fuck? You can't... Tim Sweeney, oh man, I've had fucking... Tim Sweeney has gone on Twitter a lot to contradict and made extremely contradictory statements where he will rip on Steam for doing something while simultaneously having that exact same mentality for Epic. Like, for instance, he went on fucking... He's trying to rip on Steam for having a 30% cut, right? And saying, oh, you know, why are we giving all the fucking why are we giving all these fucking services all the money from the fucking game development who don't do anything? And I'm thinking, okay, so one, that's oversimplifying the issue entirely, because platforms like Steam don't do literally nothing. They offer insane amounts of value to developers for a very, very low cut, frankly. And two, Epic is doing the same thing, so what the fuck? I mean... Yeah,
it's like, I attribute Steam to being similar to how Amazon is. Like, even though Amazon takes a portion of your revenue, there is nowhere better to be for a game's popularity than on Steam.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. What do people fucking think? That these businesses are going to allow them to publish their fucking products on their service for nothing? Are you fucking stupid? You have to be so ignorant and naive to actually think that would happen. People, the amount of comments that I've seen from people who think that owning a server and that CDN costs are cheap. Now, fair the thing, CDN costs for Steam are significantly cheaper today than they were in 2005 when when Valve opened Steam up to third-party developers. I'm not going to deny that, but CDN costs are still fucking expensive. It's still a cost. The overhead of running Steam and Valve in general is they have an office. That office has fucking electricity and water and all the other bills that they have to pay because they have an office. That office has staff. Because believe it or not, Steam do actually hire staff members, you know, other developers and customer support and administration. Despite having an open floor plan, they do actually hire administrative and customer support roles. You know what those people need? They need money. Because last I checked, I can't go to a grocery store, pick an apple off the fucking counter and walk away with it. So
you can pay for it with exposure.
Oh, it's just, it boggles the mind. And the thing about the 30% cut is that, honestly, compared to what other industries will take from developers or any other like thing, the music industry, for instance, like a music label or a film label will take way more than 30%. Like, oftentimes the contracts for those are 40 to 50% or higher. In fact, I don't have this here, but in one of the Ubisoft, funnily enough, in one of the Ubisoft finance reports, right? Because yes, I fucking read this shit. And I read this shit when I'm reporting it. I just don't have it on hand. But one of the finance reports for Ubisoft was saying how they pay about 55% to retailers and only 30% to Steam. And the biggest reason for this is because when you pay to a retailer, you don't just pay the retailer. Like, for instance, the way they sorted it out for Ubisoft was that 25% of the cut would go to the actual retailer. So that is less than Steam's cut, right? First and foremost. I mean, by default, that's less than Steam's cut, though we could assume that major corporations only get a 20% cut on Steam because that's been stated. But there was another 30% cut that they had to give to Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo as royalties to license those games on physical discs, like distribution. And this added up to about 55% for Ubisoft. So Ubisoft, when they move over to purely digital releases, they no longer have to pay any distribution licenses or royalties to the three major console developers. So then naturally they save way more money. And for the record, I don't really want to say this because I can't get the fucking proof on hand. But back when Steam were a thing, right, and retailers had all the power in selling video games, the average cut was considered roughly 40 to 50%. And Steam utilized their 30% as a means to attract developers. Because the whole point of Steam when it first came out was Counter-Strike was a thing. Counter-Strike was an online game, it was really popular, but every time an update happened, massive amounts of players would disconnect and not be able to play until they got the update. So Steam wanted a way to asynchronously update all the players, right? Without having to go through the trouble of getting them to go to their website and play for it. Another side effect of this is that it reduces the amount of complaints that they would get because of a bug or an exploit or a glitch that they have actually fixed, but that players didn't have their patches, the latest patches. So Steam was made... Yes, Steam was made out of this idea that they could push updates to all the players automatically and not have to worry about providing as much support or players being disconnected. And to attract third-party developers, they reduced the cut. They only took 30%. I mean, Valve could afford this because fucking Gabe was a millionaire. Like, see, it's funny because I don't think people know a lot about Gabe Newell's history. The guy was a producer, an executive producer for Microsoft before he did Valve. He was directly responsible for Windows 98, I believe, at the time. I'm pulling that from memory, so I don't know which version specifically. But he was a producer for Microsoft, and he was one of the few people who become one of those Microsoft millionaires. People who worked for Microsoft during the 90s when they blew the fuck up, and they've become extremely wealthy for it.
Like,
that's why Valve's managed to be... Yeah, and that's why Valve has been able to stay private, because it was funded by both Gabe Newell and his partner, whose name I forget, because he left roughly after Half-Life 1 was released. He just kind of cashed out and did whatever. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. It could have been disputes. I don't know. I'm not going to ruminate on that. But yeah, that was the whole thing, right? So people going around saying like, oh, Valve are greedy. It's like, okay, so I guess everyone's greedy. And then people say, oh, well, just because industry standard is the industry standard doesn't mean it has to be. And like, I mean, okay, but you're saying that on the assumption that it could be cheaper just because Epic has told you it could be cheaper. You don't actually have the numbers, like the financial reports to know how much Epic loses. Because Epic is a private company, just like Valve. So like Valve, two things. They don't have any obligations to shareholders to make maximum profit, and they don't have any obligations to anybody to release financial reports. So we don't actually know how much Epic is actually losing from the 12% cut. And for the record, Tim Sweeney has gone on Twitter and said that the 12% cut isn't actually viable long term, as well as a lot of professional economists who, I'm sorry, but I believe more than somebody on fucking Reddit or Facebook.
No, dude, why don't you believe the armchair theorists? They obviously know more of what they're talking about than the people actively...
I mean, I'm an armchair theorist here, right? I can't really say that I'm any better.
You're way better than them, man. Come on. Anyways,
cock waving!
So the 30% cut, industry standard, and Steam is surprisingly just fine, and it's not a whole big thing where Epic is the good guy and they're just competition, which is good. Next thing is that there are a bunch of large gaming companies that are just straight up avoiding taxes. Wow, surprising. Billionaire companies avoiding taxes. Who would have thought? This is honestly a very small thing. I just thought that we would that we should bring it up a little bit.
Casually mention it.
Is that like, just know that billionaires pay less taxes than someone making minimum wage. Just know that. Think about that, and be upset.
Be upset. Yeah, I mean, specifically, that's why when somebody says that a rich person gets to do a bunch of stuff because they pay more taxes than you, and I'm like, yeah, in theory, proportionally, they should be paying more taxes based on their wealth than we. But if they avoid taxes, then they're not. Basically, the average person likely pays more taxes than a rich person because the average person actually has to pay their taxes, a rich person doesn't. So...
And that's pretty much the whole gist of that section. That's pretty much it. The next thing is Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I don't know a lot about this game. This is only stuff that I've read. I've heard that the game is fine. However, I have also heard that there is a hilarious amount, like an absolutely comical amount of MTX.
Basically, they don't have loot boxes, so they've compensated by having like insane amounts of MTX, like just dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of them, just to compensate for the fact they don't have loot boxes. Well, I mean, is that really normal though? Like, let's be honest here. If, for instance, Overwatch didn't have loot boxes, and you could actually pay individual prices for all of the skins and cosmetics and like shaders and emotes and stuff, right? They would probably have lots of MTX too. Do we have any solid numbers on this?
I don't. I don't know what like the actual MTX costs, but I do have a list of what they're selling. Because I think I want to know. I think it's dependent on like how strong the item is or how cool the item looks on how much it costs. But these are the things that they're selling. They're selling bundles that contain guns. They're selling bundles that contain blueprints to make guns. They're selling bundles that are attachments for those guns. They're selling the individual attachments and guns. They're selling cosmetic shirts, armor, backpack, tattoos, and emotes. They're selling melee weapons. They're selling gear, camouflage, and camo paint. They're selling skill points. They're selling weapon upgrades, and they're selling something called battle point boosters. It's like a battle pass system of some way, and this like boost. It's like a boost to how fast you gain points or something like that. And you can also just buy the reward tiers. You can just buy them out. So they're basically a gacha game, is what it feels like.
To put it in, to put it in perspective, they're selling over roughly 150 MTX, and not all of them are like solid quality. At least 150.
Yeah, it's insane the amount of MTX that is in this game. You can basically anything that you can possibly get in the game for the most part, you can buy. Like, it's actually a little disgusting how much MTX is in there. I've heard the game is fine, like the gameplay itself is fine, but Jesus, it's just so bloated with MTX. It's hard to take it seriously because like you look at this and it's just like, wow. It reminds me of like those. Why? It reminds me of those games back in the day that were like specifically built around the idea of like currency in the game is money. There was one game that got like semi-popular where you could like you could spend money to get the in-game currency, and then you could also sell that in-game currency for real-life money. I don't remember what the name of the game was, but it's starting to feel like that, where it's like every item in the game is purchasable. What do you mean by buy red dot, Zeus? But it's insane that there's that many things that you can buy. That's pretty much it for gaming news, like actual just companies doing company things. Though the last topic that we're going to talk about is your Lord and Savior honk-honk is coming through as the #1 game, at least on the Switch, on the charts right now.
Yeah.
Notably beating out Zelda is the Untitled Goose Game.
Specifically beating Link's Awakening.
Yeah, which is like, it's got a lot of nostalgia behind it. I don't think it's ever going to sell as much as like a Breath of the Wild 2 would sell or something like that, but...
The thing is, I mentioned this briefly, I think there are two major reasons why Link's Awakening is doing worse than Untitled Goose Game. The first reason is nostalgia. Basically, that's what's going to sell the game. It's nostalgia. If you haven't played Link's Awakening before, then you probably don't give a fuck. It's fine. It's just another fucking, like, over-the-head fucking Zelda game. It's fine. And Link's Awakening is a really good game. I really, really like Link's Awakening. I don't think there's anything... I haven't played the new version, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The only fucking complaint I ever heard about Link's Awakening currently was that it's only 15 hours. But it's like, yeah, but the old version was 15 hours and also $60. So, actually, for me, right, living in New Zealand, the old version was the equivalent of about $70. And again, you got about 15 hours of content. So when Link's Awakening, the remake, comes out and it's got the same amount of content and it's the same fucking price, I mean, what do you... I mean, that's not... That's like complaining... I don't know why people complain about this, but they didn't complain about like Heart Gold and Heart Silver Pokemon remakes coming out that are exactly the same and costed the same. It's like, fine. That's a topic we could talk about later on a later episode anyways. Price of video games and how that's either changed, not changed, or people's perceptions of it. But the other reason I think it hasn't sold well is that Untitled Goose Game appeals to much more people. I mean, that's just the reality of it, right?
Yeah,
as popular as Zelda is, Untitled Goose Game, right, is much like fucking Goat Simulator in that it's a joke of a game that just appeals to basically significantly more people. It's much more casual in experience.
Yeah, and some interesting things about this game, besides that it's like topping the charts, is that as you can see on the list here, the game, it started as a joke in a group chat. Some of the developers, whatever company that made it, I can't remember. Is it Devolver Digital? Are they who made it? I don't actually know, so don't quote me. But,
I don't know. Yeah.
But apparently someone in like one of their like designer, like their developer group chats that they had through like text or something, or Discord, I think, randomly sent a picture of a goose and said, "Hey, let's make a game about this." That was literally how it started. Someone sent a picture of a fucking goose. Yeah. They said, "Hey, let's make a game about this." And there's a screen cap of them talking about it, and they're like, "Yeah, I like its ankles and how wrinkly they are, and how its legs and its beak are so super orange." It's like, These are the people making your video games. Memeing about this and making their memes become not dreams.
Why not? I mean, you say that, but...
I didn't say that negatively.
You say that. No, I know, but I mean, you say that, but fucking 100% guaranteed the people who made the goddamn fucking KFC dating simulator were also memeing it up, alright? It's a marketing gimmick, yes, but they still gave it to people who knew how to fucking joke about games.
So something else interesting is that this is an example of riding the coattails of social media virality, which I feel that honestly social media isn't viral anymore. I don't feel like that's a thing anymore. I feel viral videos are very easy to force nowadays.
I mean, you say that, right? But forced memes, as they were called, has always been a thing. Even when 4chan was where they mostly came from, right? That was always a thing. I think rather what's happened is that as the oversaturation of meme culture has forced memes to have to be much, much larger than life to be noticeable nowadays. So most people look at it and go, yeah, whatever, I've seen that before. Especially because the internet's much more mainstream. So we're like it's like an equilibrium where back when internet culture was first forming in like early 2003, 2004, things like memes weren't nearly as popular as a meme might be today, but because there was less people interacting with them. Then 2008 hits. That's like the peak of fucking Facebook and Twitter, right? And everyone's fucking linking shit, and you're getting tons of that kind of information. Things like I Can Has Cheeseburger become a thing. And despite what you might think about that website, despite what you might think about things like iFunny and stuff like that, those websites are extremely fucking popular. And now we're coming full circle. We're going back to the whole, they're not nearly as popular because people have seen it all. And so there's not as many people interacting with the memes on a daily basis. So you have to do something extremely fucking noticeable. Because when you're saying about that whole fucking social aspect of like, Untitled Goose Game, it reminds me of, what's the name? Agony. Do you remember that game, Agony? The game that was deliberately designed to be offensive, and the only reason it was even fucking successful on Steam is because the media went around how it was so violent and so offensive.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Basically, it was supposed to be like Postal 1 and 2, where it was incredibly offensive just to be offensive, but unlike Postal 1 and 2, which were honestly, Postal 2 is completely and unabashedly fucking offensive and racist and xenophobic and sexist, all that shit. It hates everybody, right? It's extremely offensive just to be offensive. But the thing that it has over Agony, right, is that Postal 2 wasn't really actually designed to be hyped on its offensive nature. It was offensive to be offensive, but they weren't selling it. Basically, they weren't marketing it using the offensive nature. Kind of like South Park, for instance. South Park is designed to be a current affairs show and be extremely offensive, but they're not necessarily as overt about it. They don't go, we're so offensive, we're the most offensive fucking television on... So we're the most offensive show on TV and you should watch us because we're so fucking offensive. No, South Park make actual statements that have some sort of truth in them and they just do it in the most offensive manner. Postal 2, for instance, and Postal 1 were actually pretty damn good games that just happened to be extremely fucking offensive as a joke. And Postal 2, honestly, is really fucking innovative as an open world game for the time. It's just stupidly fucking offensive. Agony, on the other hand, was not. It's a fucking garbage fucking game that was offensive because that was the only way it could sell itself. And that's how I feel on things like... It's funny because... And that's how I feel like Untitled Goose Game is, except that Untitled Goose Game is designed as a joke. It basically, I can equate Untitled Goose Game with Postal more than I associate it with Agony in that sense. So I don't think that it using this... Yeah. I don't think that it using the social media as a platform to advertise is a bad thing for Untitled Goose Game because it's not a bad game.
It didn't use it to advertise, so the whole thing was that they posted it as a joke on social media.
Yeah.
And then like because it got so popular in there, they're like, all right, fuck it, we're gonna make it a game.
Oh, let's do it.
But
that's the thing though. I don't think they made it a game. I think they made it a game because they wanted to make it a game, rather than making it a game because they wanted to fucking sell something that was bullshit. That was a meme. I don't think it's a forced meme, is what I'm saying.
So So one thing, I've played a little bit of the game, and I am going to be streaming it. Actually, sometime coming up this week, I'm going to begin my streams of it. I'm going to be splitting the time with Blasphemous.
Ugh.
And I've played a little bit of Goose Game. The one thing that I can say about the game is that somehow they have managed to make the game very goose-like. The controls do feel goose-like. I don't know how to better say that. Like,
feels
like
goose-like. IGN.
It feels like if I was a goose, that's how I would move. You know, like I feel like that's like the way it would be.
You shit everywhere, just unexpectedly.
And something that the developers talked quite a bit about is how the game is almost literally Hitman, but just the violence has been removed from it, right? So the idea is that in Hitman, you lay a trap or you move something, do something to cause an effect, right? And that effect is the person being killed. It's that you're laying a trap, you're setting it up. Huh?
Do you have a target, and do you lose points for killing anyone that's not your target? Because that's how Hitman gets you.
You do have a target in the game, and you have like a set list of things that you need to do. There's no points or anything like that in the game. It's just you can just go off and do whatever you want. But there is a target in every stage of the game, and you have like a laundry list of things that you are supposed to complete to quote unquote complete the game. But you can do whatever the hell you want. You can go anywhere you want.
You know what? I wonder if the game does kind of have that postal feel. Funnily enough, just less offensive.
But yeah, it's honestly a pretty good game. But your goal is to just be an asshole. Basically, you're just going in and honking to the fucking moon is the whole point of the game. And I'm gonna be playing that on stream here sometime later this week. But that's actually time. So. Man, we managed to fill up the hour almost on the dot with all of the topics that I put in the list here, but
yeah, I'm gonna
that's pretty much
list for next time.
Yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it. I think that something that we're gonna start doing going forward on the podcast here is we are going to have this like list of topics, and we're gonna really try to stick to this list of topics. We go on tangents so often that I don't think
that's a problem though.
Yeah, like we go off on tangents so often.
Here's the thing: you're not changing the rules here, because the original point was for us to go on a tangent, and that would,
that's what I'm saying.
That would spur conversation.
Let me finish. The idea is that we go on tangents so often about everything that we don't really need extra topics. Like we don't really need to deviate the topics too much, because we're gonna fucking deviate anyways. So
yeah.
So that's the whole idea.
Or just talk about one topic for like 20 minutes. It's fun.
Yeah, so something as well that we're going to be doing relatively soon. Give us a few weeks, but our plans for the podcast going forward is that we're going to open up the Discord. We have a two-step Discord that we're going to open up publicly, and the whole idea is that we're going to have sections where you can see what we're going to be talking about, you can see what we're going to be doing, and you can also contribute towards, say, if you have something that you think is worthy of being talked about, or you have like a question for us about anything, like you want to hear like, hey Mag, what's your opinion on blah 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 blah, or hey Bag, what's your opinion on fucking goats in space, or so I don't know, whatever, whatever it may be that you have a question about. We'll be doing a section probably once monthly, every couple episodes, where we take all of those questions and we answer them. So those are some plans we have going for the future.
Yeah, Zeus like that. I'm not talking about traps. I don't even have to read the fucking chat to know that's coming. Like
it's actually not what he said. He said, "Hey Mag, what's your opinion on child labor?" We're not gonna go into that. Okay, we're not. We're hit time.
Why do I even need to? What?
But that's it, guys. You can find all of our social media links down below on YouTube or in the account information on SoundCloud or Spotify. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we will catch y'all next time.